All right, it is 3:30 sharp. We will now commence with the mayor forum. And just a few reminders of how this is going to work. So number one, the questions that are being asked are actually sourced from the community. So I can't take credit for the wonderful questions. They actually came from all of you and all the other residents here in Baldwin. The way this forum will work is a little different. We will ask each candidate a question, you will answer it, but then you're going to have the opportunity to ask one another a question, right? And you will have 1 minute to respond to the question that is asked. If you don't want to ask a question to your opposition, that's fine. You don't have to, but you will have that opportunity. And once again, we have our amazing timekeeper to help us keep to time and on track. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. I think I heard Casey that you are willing to go first.
Yes.
All right, thanks for that. All right, so we're going to start off with a nice softball question. And that is, why do you want to be mayor?
All right. Well, first, my name is Casey Simino. I've been mayor here in Baldwin for a little while now. Have a wife at home, 3 kids that live with me, and a 25-year-old. My kids are 16, 10, and 3. And I have a 25-year-old who is an accountant in Kansas City. So that's kind of a little bit about my background. I was a state trooper for 11 years, operated a business here in Baldwin City, sold my interest in that business back in 22 and went to law school, graduated law school this year, and I'm a licensed attorney now for a title insurance underwriter. So what type of community, the reason why I want to become mayor and stay mayor is I want the type of community where seniors, families, individuals, young people all want to live, or kids want to come back to, not a community where they grow up, then they immediately want to leave and never return home. I want to create that type of environment where we hold on to our small town values. We continue to prosper. We continue to support local businesses, and we come together as a community at various events throughout the year. So for me, it's simple. I want to create the type of environment where all people want to come, they want to live, they want to support each other, and again, where our children want to come back to raise their families on Sunday.
Thanks, Casey. Okay, Jamie, over to you.
Hopefully this is on OES and you can hear me. I'm sorry, I like Bob back there. I've got to move around. You know, I think I'm one of the few people that can stand up in this forum and say for 45 years, I have committed my life to serving communities or community. I've lived in this town for 26 years. I've raised my family here. My wife is sitting here in front of me. I've raised my son here. And you know, Baldwin's a good community. And the reason I want to run for mayor is I want it to continue to be a good community. I have a master's degree in liberal arts with an emphasis in adult education. I taught for Baker University as an adjunct professor for 20 years. I like to throw this out here. I've been awarded twice now, valor awards for valor in the line of duty, for heroism. When I left Norton, and yes, I still resided in Baldwin, when I was at Norton, Norton's where I worked. Baldwin's where I lived. My agency was recognized by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, one of only 8 agencies in the state of Kansas for leadership and innovation. I have, 3 beautiful grandchildren now that go through that. I want to have the benefit of this community. And you know what that benefit is? Let me tell you. Number one, it's a benefit, it's a bicycle community. Huh? Isn't it? You can put your child on a bicycle, let him go to the pool, and not worry about it. I want that to continue. And I told Chet, right here in front of me, he can perfectly throw anything he wants to at me if I run over, and I give him the time. That's kind of what this is about. Thank you.
Thank you both. Casey, is there any question you want to address to Jerry?
I guess I would ask you, over your time that you've lived here, 20 years, what has been the best improvement you've seen from Baldwin City?
I think that's a question that, let's put it this way. I have seen improvement, and I'm saying right now, if you think I'm gonna come here and bash this man and show animosity to him, and let's have a WrestleMania up here, it's not gonna happen. I have no animosity towards this man. He's been mayor for 8 years. Yeah, we've seen improvements. I'll grant you that. No problem. We've seen things improve, and we've seen our city bankrupt right now. No money, no funds. In the red. We cannot have those things at the cost of not having basically surplus and things to fall back on. So thank you.
Jerry, your turn. Is there a question you'd like to redirect to Casey?
No, there's not.
So moving on to question number 2, Jerry, you'll be up to answer first. So we're going to dream a little bit. If it was up to you, what is the first thing you would address or change in Baldwin?
First thing I want to address and change in Baldwin is I want to be fiscally responsible, get us back fiscally on track. We have no reserves. We're bankrupt. Have no money. We need to sit down and prioritize just not one thing, but we need to examine several different things and juggle each one, try to make sure that we give it the proper attention and care that it deserves to help this community grow. And that's the important thing. And I heard this talk too. Well, we don't need reserves as a community. And you know why? Well, if we have a natural disaster here, or we have a snowstorm that knocks power out for a week, we'll just go to FEMA and get the money. Got news for everyone in here. I have worked with FEMA. Personal, first-hand experience dealing with the bureaucracy of FEMA. Not that easy. Not that easy at all. What you ask and request for FEMA, you might not even get. And if you think FEMA's going to do us a good job, look at Washington, Kansas, where they had the timothy spill. How long it took them to get up there? Look at, let's see, stretch back a little bit, and this is how I got no FEMA. Look at Katrina. Oh man, what a mess. What a mess. So right now, I think we just need to kind of get back to a basic, get some reserves up, let's look at our challenges and try to meet each one on a proactive side, not reactive. Thank you.
Right, Casey?
So I liked what a few of the council members said on their forum, the divisiveness. I always say when we get new council members come to serve with us that, hey, let's keep the national politics out of Baldwin. Let's just deal with local issues. And I agree. I think that's one thing that I would love to change in our community is really to keep that national politics out. Let's concentrate on the local issues and deal with those local issues. Regarding the bankruptcy, I'm not sure where that's coming from, Gerald, because I actually just I just had a meeting with our finance company and our finance committee, and our reserves by the end of this year are going to be exactly what our policy requires. So I get some of the conversation regarding the electric rates that talked about reserves, talked about where our reserves were going to go. That's the reason why we had to increase them, is because we were going through our reserves. So therefore, by increasing them, our reserves are going to be at or above policy by the end of the year by all the projections from our finance company. But as far as I'm concerned, Baldwin City is a great community. It's a great community for seniors to live in. It's a great community for families to raise their children in. It's a great community to go to school as a Baker University student, to see your president walking on campus and to be able to speak with your president. We have a lot of community involvement. And I always say in a community our size, it takes many different types of people to really make a community flourish. And that is people willing to give their time and people willing to give their money. And we have had both of those in Baldwin City. So.
Thank you. Jerry, any questions for Casey?
Yes, I'd like to respond to that if I may. You know, I once attended a dinner where a very large municipality, Kansas, Missouri, had a mayor talking. He said, government should be invisible until you need it. Then government should step up and be able to help you. You know, I'm gonna harken back to Casey's KSP days. Listen, we knew this electrical problem was coming. We knew it. You know, what did we do? We allowed it. We knew it was coming. We knew it was going to be a problem. It's no different than watching the accident, saying the accident's going to happen. I just keep saying coming, but I'm not going to intervene. I'm going to let it happen. Then I'm going to deal with it. Listen, we need to be proactive as versus reactive. Reactive doesn't help. We need to be proactive. Thank you.
Yeah, just a reminder, in this redress, it is an opportunity to ask a question, not to, yeah. Casey, I guess I will let you if you want to,
So I'll have a follow-up question, but just to respond to some of that, we were reactive. We saw this coming. Inflation started hitting us, but what the finance committee and the council felt was that they did not want to put more strain on our citizens at that time. We had an overabundance of reserve in our electrical fund for many years. The last time that the electric rate was increased was 2010. And through that time, the reserves had built up well over 2-3 times what our actual reserve needed to be. So instead of putting more burden on our citizens when their food and gas and everything else was increasing, that's why the council decided to hold off until the inflationary period subsided a little bit and then increased the rate. My question is, do you know what the city's, are you aware of what the city's reserve policy is?
I have an idea, but no, I cannot quote it right off the top of my head. And I'd ask you to please quote it to me.
Okay. The reserve policy requires the city to keep 15 to 25% of the annual expenditures into a fund for that specific utility. That's what we're required to do.
Tell me that's not an attorney speaking. Huh? You did good in college. I like it.
That's the black and white. That's what our reserve fund requires, 15 to 25%. It sways to that depending on what projects the city has going, what the budgetary items are looking like, all that fun stuff. But that is what the reserve.
Thank you.
Is.
Thanks, gentlemen. So again, just a reminder, you will each answer a question and have a chance to ask your opponent a question. Right? It's not an opportunity to clarify, but you're asking them a question. All right. So let's continue talking about priorities. Casey, we're going to start this one with you. Are you supportive of growth in Baldwin? And what role should the city have in supporting or promoting growth, if any?
Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, I mean, a community our size has to grow. It's a necessary portion of our economics in Baldwin City. If we're not growing, we're going to lose local businesses because we don't have enough people to support them. Housing continues to increase, all that stuff. It also helps to lower our utility bills. The more people, the more houses that we add, the more that those expenditures get spread out over a larger group of people. So housing growth is necessary, but not only growth in business or in residentials, growth in business also. I hear all the time, we want this type of restaurant, we want that type of restaurant. That takes people to get those businesses attracted to Baldwin. It took a community effort to attract Casey's to Baldwin. I saw on social media that people were reaching out to Casey's, tagging Casey's, all that stuff. And we have to have growth for businesses that want to come and plant their roots here in Baldwin City. So growth is important, and the city should support that growth within realm, right? Within our budgetary constraints, not putting any more on our citizens, but having policy in place that gets people in business to come to Baldwin City to do business because we're easy to do business with and we're pro-business.
Thanks, Casey. All right, Gary, how about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna stand right here and say I kind of echo Casey's sentiments. We need growth. We want growth. It's basically what's going to help sustain this city. I feel that the government, council, the city, can maybe help up and try to do the best we can to promote growth within this city and this community. Maybe it either be by Doing something as simple. If elected mayor, I was gonna monthly pick out a Baldwin City restaurant review. Hey, go to this restaurant, it's in our community, let's support it. Let's do that. Let's go to this community restaurant, let's deal with this community business. It was interesting. Someone made a comment to me yesterday about the maple leaf in the middle of the street, and they said, this will be a point of destination 4 or 5 statewide. Honestly, I don't know if it would be or not. But here's the thing. We don't have motels in this community for it to become a point of destination. They would have to stay in malls. So I think that's where the city can step up and maybe try to join with businesses. And I know he's attracted businesses here and tries. It's just, I think I want to try to take a different view and a different angle on how to attract businesses. Fort Scott had a program there for a while when they were trying to resurrect their downtown, where they actually went out and gave a business a loan. Then they prorated that business over a 5-year period from a minimum amount to a maximum amount of payback on that loan. So at the end of 5 years, the business should be succeeding and they should be able to handle that loan. But that spurred them and helped them get on and help them establish that business in their downtown community. Thank you.
All right, Casey, any questions you have for Julia?
Just follow up, how do you see, or what programs maybe would you support the city implementing to help sustain growth, to help bring growth to Baldwin City?
Well, I think one thing, I would like to get with the Chamber of Commerce, get with them. I would like to get with the Arts Center, try to get with them, see what ideas they float. I would like to try to go through. I mean, it's something simple. Do we even have a sign out here on 56 and Main Street pointing business district to the south? No. We have it on the east side of town and on the south. So I think, and here's the thing, as we go through our lives, we live in our own universe. We don't look outside of it. We live in our own city. I want to go out and see what other municipalities are doing of our level to spur growth and development. If I can steal it and copy it, I'll do it.
Great, thank you. Jerry, any question for Casey on this issue?
No.
All right, so continue on the theme of kind of dreaming here a little bit. What quality of life projects or goals do you believe the city should prioritize? And Jerry, we'll start with you.
The quality of life goal is for a citizen to be able to do just what I talked about earlier. Having children play in the front yard without any fear. Have amenities available to our community, such as parks, and I know we have some very nice parks, Oval parks and things like this. I mean, your brain, I won't say brain, your service and your thanks, Casey. I had an attorney come out, I like it. And, things along that line that provide a quality of service. I know right now we're looking at this lake issue right here on the east side of town. What are we going to do with this lake? Well, some people say sell it, some say keep it. I don't know, but I think it's something we need to look at to see maybe if we can't go through and either repair that lake, advertise it, see that, make it a part of the community, or maybe we just need to go through and say, I'm sorry, we're going to cut our losses, but let's look at some land here, if possible, on the east, west side, north side of town, and try to develop another lake that the community can enjoy that is close. And that they can travel to and spend an afternoon at, just within a 10-minute drive, 15-minute drive. That's what I say. Thank you.
Can you repeat that question?
Absolutely. What quality of life projects or goals do you believe the city should prioritize?
So quality of life has been a big thing for the last 8 years. We've added sidewalks, first city and the only city in Douglas County to have the safe route to school completed, or almost completed by the time the state funds the rest of it. That was all completed by grants, majority by grants, 75% by grants. Sullivan Square, that has brought our community together so much with that one space. The community center now is being utilized by bringing the community together in that one space. One thing that we have prioritized that it will be completed hopefully this fall, spring, is we're getting upgraded sidewalks or upgraded crossings at 8th Street. And then also I was able to work with the Lieutenant Governor and get the crosswalk added at Heritage. But I think overall, I mean, in the future, what we need to concentrate is what the community tells us we need to concentrate on. And right now, that is the Baldwin City Lake. We have a committee formed. They're working through it. And we are taking the steps necessary to try to improve that lake, to try to save it, to try to create a desirable area where people want to visit and want to be a part of. Blackjack Park was one of the other ones that we were working on, and I was able to work with Douglas County to provide the funding for us to purchase that so we can co-own Blackjack Park with Douglas County. That cost the city $7,000. Douglas County provided $250,000 for that project. So we were able to save that historical area. But I think for me, the historical area, the walkability of our community, seeing people outside walk on the sidewalks, drive their golf carts, drive their side by sides, getting out as a community, coming together. We just need to continue to support and promote those types of quality of life items in Baldwin City.
Thank you. Jerry, any questions for Casey on this topic?
Yes, just as far as looking at the quality of service or level of service and quality of life in this community, is the city have any kind of program that they engage with citizens to go through and repair curbing and sidewalks where the city bears 3/4 of the cost of repairing that sidewalk?
Okay, so we did, and Gerald, I don't have the funds correctly in front of me. But when we started our sidewalk project, we did create a program that helped the citizens for their sidewalks in front of their houses to match 50-50 with the city funds and with the citizens funds, so that we could address, because really the sidewalk project looked at corridors, looked at movement throughout the city from one space on one side of town to the other space. So that project is out there. As far as curbs, those typically will be done as part of a project when we're repairing streets, when we're replacing streets, then we do the curbs and gutters. But usually sidewalks are borne by the homeowner. However, we do have a project. I just have to check the funding on that project, so I don't have that in my mind right now.
Great, thank you. Casey, anything for Jerry on this issue?
I don't on this one, so thank you.
Okay, let's turn our way to talking about utilities, services. And Casey, we start with you on this one. Can you explain your thoughts on how you would balance taxes and the affordability of utilities, and also balancing reliability of services and infrastructure?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for the question. That is a balancing act. When you're looking at cost of living, you're looking at taxes, you're looking at inflation. It's a complete balancing act. So what I've done and continue to do is look at line items. I believe Bob brought that up, line by line. For example, we switched from traditional analog phone service at the city to voice over IP. It saved us $40,000 to $60,000 just by that one change. We looked at our investments, our reserve funds. The city, when I became mayor, was inputting those funds into a checking account. We took a different approach and we started investing those in CDs. That now gains us about over $100,000. I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but over $100,000 a year. We were only getting around $20,000 per year. So I think it's thinking outside the box on how to fund items. We talk a lot about grants tonight. Grants are a big thing. Those are tax dollars that we have all paid already, either to the state or federal government. Other communities are getting that. So we need to continue to look for those grant opportunities to bring those back home to the citizens that have already paid those, because we weren't taking advantage of those prior. So I think to balance the utilities, I've heard speak about the water line going up to Lawrence. That's a big project, $15 million project probably. So I already engaged with Congressman Derek Smith to try to see what federal funding that may be available. They're working on it. They're trying to find it, because we're not the only Kansas community with this problem. Also, when we negotiated our new water agreement with the city of Edgerton, we negotiated that they would be able to provide us water if and when we ever put the infrastructure in place to get the water pushed back to the west versus just east.
Thanks, Casey.
I'm sorry, can you read the question again, please?
Absolutely. So talk a little bit about about your thoughts on balancing taxes, the affordability of utilities, while keeping our services reliable and our infrastructure sound.
Okay, the first thing I want to talk about, and I know I've had a couple of people mention to me that on this electrical thing in our city, this is kind of the thing that's spurring a lot of people within this community that say, the electrical rates need increase. First of all, someone told me when I was talking to them, we need to get rid of our electrical plant. We need to get rid of our electrical altogether. It needs to go to Evergy. We can't afford this. It needs to go away. I disagree. We need to keep our electrical system that we have right now, okay? Because as long as it's ours, we control it and do with it as we see fit. What I mean by that is, if you go through and give that electrical system to Evergy, they're Evergy's wins. And just a real simple thing here is that, my sister-in-laws live up in Overland Park. In this last one when we had the blizzard, I think we lost power for 45 minutes maybe. And thank goodness our electrical company had our power back on within 45 minutes. My sister-in-law in Shawnee was 2.5 days before she got power. And you know what? My sister-in-law in Overland Park was almost 4 days. We need to keep that local and control that. And Casey, he's right. Hey, look, I've got A, B, C, D, F, and G. But you know what? That is part of his job. That's why he's mayor. That's what he's supposed to do, is look out for you and you. It's just, an accomplishment. Yeah, he's doing it. But that's part of his day-to-day job. That's my opinion on it. I've been chief in several different agencies. That's what you do day to day to make it work. Thank you.
Ms. Jerry Casey, any questions for Jerry on this topic?
What going forward, how would you put our electrical system in a better place to avoid some of the outages that we currently see?
I'm very much a frontline leader in everything I've ever done. First thing I want to do is sit down and visit with Rob Pulley. I want to sit down and visit with our interim city administrator. I want to talk to them, get a good feel where we need to be, what's going on. Then you know what? We need to look outside of our universe because, he's right. Here's the thing. It's just not Baldwin City that's facing these issues. It is nationwide. Electrical costs. The electrical grid is getting old. All these things. We need to do research and figure out how to address the problem and be proactive, not reactive.
Thanks, Jerry. Any question for Casey on this topic?
No.
Let's shift a little bit to relationships. No, we're not going to get touchy-feely, I promise. No. But let's start, Jerry, with you. As a leader, how will you make transparency and open communications a priority between the governing body, the mayor and the city council, and the public?
Good question. Thank you very much. And I know people get tired of hearing my law enforcement background, but in each position I led as chief, twice a year, I had community meetings to the public. Come in, talk to me, tell me what's going on. What do you think? What's your problems? What's your issues? Then also what I did is about once every 4 months, I held which at that time was a very big thing to do, a coffee with a cop. I would be there, I would go through, I would sit there and talk to the citizens, I'd make myself available to the citizens. I promoted continually an open door policy. You have an issue, you got a problem, come see the chief. I might be able to solve it, I might not. I am a huge proponent of going through and promoting communication. You know, I've told people, 1419 8th Street, remember the address, three-car garage, got signs all over it, you know? Hey, elected mayor, come see me. Sit on the porch and tell me what your issues and problems are. I might be able to solve them, I might not, but I'm available. And I think every year we need to go through and have a state of the city address. Advertise it to the community where we sit out and say, these are our issues. This is what we're facing, this is our challenges, and this is what we're doing. Those things are open lines of communication. And I would want to promote that, along with the city council and myself. Thank you.
Yeah, transparency has been and continues to be a very, very important topic in conversation within our city council. We have live streaming now. When I became mayor, you had to show up to city council meetings in order to figure out what your city government was doing. I did not like that. We started out with a GoPro at the city library. Set up a GoPro, wasn't the best quality, couldn't hear us the best. We continue to evolve. And now we're in our current chambers. We're live stream, great audio. People in the public can hear us when they're sitting out there. We were also sparsely on social media at that time. Now we have a great social media team. Lynn did a great job in supporting that, continue to put information out as much as possible. We didn't really have much citizen engagement. So I wanted to make sure that within our committees, with our city council members, the citizens who were unelected had a voice in those. So we appointed city representatives that were unelected to sit in every single committee meeting. So that way they could give just a non-political response to any issues that may have arose. Really wasn't any surveys being done. So now we try to put out surveys when we're doing different things, the community center, Sullivan Square, different things like that. We try to do that when we have a big topic. We try to have a citizen forum. Well, I know we did it with Sullivan Square. We did it with the community center. All those big ticket items, we try to do that. But going forward, we can always improve transparency. That can always be improved. That's why I've appointed a citizen-led committee to tell us what policies can we put in place when we communicate things, so that way we can make sure we're being as transparent and open as we possibly can.
Thank you. Jerry, any question for Casey on transparency and community engagement?
Yes, just a couple of quick questions and a comment. You know, the Russian Revolution never would have happened if it went to committee. You want to kill a topic, put it to a committee. It will kill it as soon as possible. And I understand Casey went through it, and I agree. You know, social media, not everybody has social media. You have one of your own city council members stand up here and say that. You know, I had an incident, a person brought to me when the electoral rates went up. Okay. He's like, chef on
Yeah,
here.
Jerry, do you have a question?
That's all. No, thank you.
Casey, any question for Jerry on this?
What recommendations, because if I'm elected mayor, I want recommendations given to me. What recommendations would you have for the city to increase transparency?
You know, I don't think it hurts to send out just a quarterly newsletter. Not everybody has any kind of social media. I think that's good. I think that, you know, even you can maybe, and I know maybe you're not the most likely thing, but put sprawler in City Hall on the bottom, says this event, this date, this is what's going on. Be more informative. I think it's 23% of our population is 60 and above. How many of those are on Facebook? So that's what I suggest.
All right, we have our last question here. So we have talked about why you wanted to be mayor. We've talked about what you see as things you want to change. We've talked about things you would prioritize. I want us to bring us back to you, to each of you. And so let's see, Casey, I believe you're the first up on this question. So let's end with, how do your unique strengths, skills, and experience align with the priorities and the needs for Baldwin City?
I think start off, one, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I think this is an important community engagement time to hear from the candidates that are running, to hear the different views and everything. So with this being the last question, I just want to thank everybody for attending today. I think my strengths come really from my service over the last 8 years, my in-depth knowledge with the city budget, how city bonds work, how the lease, we call them leases, but they're actually loans that are completed for the police cars and different things, how those intricacies work, as well as my business background, understanding numbers, understanding how to leverage our dollars that you have all put into the city's hands to make the best benefit for our community. Getting out, talking to people, being approachable, being available, being at all the city events, being involved in the different organizations, from the community foundation to the education foundation to all the different events that I try to attend and be a part of, to try to go to all the committee meetings, as many as I can. Being open-minded, trying to listen to different ideas. My idea is not always the one that the council chooses, and nor do they always agree with me, but that's okay. That is what makes government go around, and that's what makes us work, and that's what makes us become the unique community that we are. So I think for me, my vast experience between business, now the legal education, my prior law enforcement, first of all, I want to thank you for your service. That's not an easy job, as one that has done that. But all those coming together, being able to talk to different types of people and understand their issues and how can we solve those problems on the city level. That's what I bring to the table.
Thank you for the closing question. I think I'm the only individual that can stand up here and say, in my career, when I was with Lenexa PD, our system was set up that when you were a patrol sergeant, you had the ultimate authority from 10 o'clock on to run and operate that city. That came from our chief of police, Ellen Hanson, who's still my mentor. Understand what that translates into. I, as a sergeant, was responsible for the lives, safety, and welfare of 50,000 people. No different when I worked at Norton. I was the cousin of, I had to protect the community and go through and be responsible for 3,200 citizens. That is an awesome responsibility. That is something I take I hold very close to heart and I'm very sacred about. To be responsible for their health and welfare. Budget, and I know Casey's got the budget, he's had the experience for the last 8 years. I too have dealt with budget. Capital improvement programs, equipment replacement programs, grants, budget items. We talk about the COVID issue. Hey, I remember when COVID was coming around, my city administrator and I sat down 3 months before the shutdown, said, this is coming. What do we need to do to prepare for it? Guess what we did? We ordered extra electrical poles. We ordered everything that we thought might be a challenge the city if this country shut down. We weathered it better than most cities around us. No different. Had the same experience, maybe just not the same level. But I don't think so. I've done a lot in my career in life. All that dealing with people. Thank you.
All right, we have enough time. We will have 1 minute to say what final comments that you want people to take away from this.
Question. Well, again, I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank everybody for the support that you continue to show the city, as well as myself, the city council members. We really try to create a team atmosphere within our community. I think you heard from some of the current serving council members that we have all committees, or the city council has committees. We let them run that committee. We let our directors run their departments. We want our community to be as engaged and open as we possibly can. I cannot think of a better community to raise my children in than Baldwin City. I grew up in a small farming town out in western Kansas. Loved it out there. Wouldn't trade anything for my upbringing. But what we have in Baldwin City is special. What we've created over the last years is special. We can continue that improvement. We can continue to make our community the best community possible and to attract people to want to visit here, and ultimately live and raise their children here, and those children to come back to our community. So thank you again for all your time.
Thank you, Casey. That's on all the very good topics, and I agree with them. This is a good town to raise your children and raise a family in. I'm not gonna argue that at all. He wants to make it better. He wants to continue. I want it to continue. I want to make it better. First of all, thank you to the chamber for sponsoring this. I see some former council members out here that show that they're still interested in the health of our city and other individuals. That's good. I like to see that. You know, he understands it. Whereas Jake Ingleson, he understands. Where's my other council members? You understand that when these people take this job on, what they take on, they don't only take on the good, the bad, they take on the people who are angry at them because of one way or another, or one reason or another. They take the cheap shots from the community behind their back, not confronting them or telling them up front. Thank you that we have people that are willing to step up and still serve this community and have served it in the past. You know, here's my thing. He's had 8 years. Does he do some remarkable things? Yes. It's just a different time for a different set of eyes. That's all. It's time for a change and different set of eyes. Thank you.
All right, thank you both. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you to the chamber for putting this on. And that is a wrap for our Baldwin City Candidate Forum. Thank you all.